Good. And I just turned on, as a safety valve, our recording for this also. So we have it both ways. Okay, so here we are. This is Disclosure Network New York. It's our Zoom meeting for Sunday, September 6th. It's about 2 p.m. And we have most people that are from the New York vicinity, New York area. And why don't we just go around right now and just say your first name and where are you from? Go ahead. Start with Hal.
Al, Staten Island.
Okay. Nick, Manhattan.
See my hand. I'm a ceiling fan. Sarah.
Okay. So thank you, Susan. Tom.
Okay. I'm Tom Garber from Forest Hills, Queens.
Okay. Anthony.
Anthony in Manhattan, Washington Heights.
Great. Okay. Carol.
Apulia from Chelsea, Manhattan.
All right. Jim. You got it. Okay. Susan, you already said. How about the rest of the other two?
Joe Foster, Project Diana site today.
Okay. Anybody else?
Frank from Philadelphia, South Jersey area.
Okay. Well, welcome all. Really glad to have you here. It's always a high point for me during the month to have these Zoom meetings. And I really look forward when there will be a time when we'll be face-to-face. And even when we are face-to-face, I'm going to continue the Zoom meetings because I think this is another great way to communicate and to talk about things we can't all get in the 2 hours that we're at the center in the West Village. So we're going to continue with the Zoom meetings. It's a great way to communicate. And it really, I've used them a lot now for various projects, and it's been really a godsend. So here we are. Okay, so we're going to start off. And the subject matter for today, there's been a video released. It was a while back, and we can clarify when that was. It showed a supposed alien being interrogated in a kind of a very aggressive way, not very much of a kind way. And this alien, or whatever that was, seemed to be tied up to something too. And he was in some, if it's a he, or I believe it was, I don't know that, but he was in discomfort too. And it was really a very interesting but sad video. It wasn't a long video either, and they were asking some questions. And I want to also get into what those questions were and why they were asked. So we're going to start off. Joe, you're going to take a side here for what might be the real deal. So could you give us a good idea, Joe, of what you're saying here, what you're thinking?
Okay, well, basically, and I say it with qualification, the original that was sent out had a number of flaws in it, apparently. And it looked like it shared a lot of the same things with another video that was made early on that was much clearer, that showed the alien's face, his mouth, and the language was kind of cleaned up. That was the one that Frank Chili sent out, and I found to be the better one. And also, apparently,
in black and white, is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
And apparently, that particular one had more credibility than the first one that was sent out, for the reasons that I just mentioned. Again, I qualify this. I'm not an expert on aliens, so that's the way it seemed to me.
Okay. All right. Very good. Now, Tom, you've done also some digging. Give us, please, Tom, what you have come up with.
Okay. I'm reading from a sheet that I typed up.
Tom, you're muted. Tom, you're
am
muted.
I? Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay, you can hear me now, right?
Very well, yes.
Okay, I'm reading from a sheet that I typed up, and it has various different points that I'm going to refer to as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then subpoints that I'll refer to as A and B. Okay. Point 1, no documentation or corroboration. A, in the first film, Dr. Lear says 3 EBEs were captured, and an interview was filmed with EBE 3, and it would be released later. And somebody said this film was filmed in 1975. Then we see the film. But nobody actually says that the film that we're looking at is indeed the interview that they filmed of EBE3. Nobody says that. We're led to assume that, but nobody says that. And I say, this is to protect Dr. Lear or anyone else from being sued if the film is found to be fake. B, there are no markings on the film to indicate where it comes from, who the interviewer is, when it was made, etc. There should be something on every frame showing the department of the military who made it, the date, elapsed time, etc. This is to protect any organization from being sued if the film is found to be fake. Point number 2, the lighting. A, the alien is in poor lighting almost all the time. Now, the one that was a little brighter than that rare, very, very dark one is still, somebody played around with that in Photoshop or something to increase the light, but, you know, it's that color has nothing to do with the real color of anything because the wall in the back is the same color as the alien. Anyway, it has been suggested that the dark lighting is because these aliens are very sensitive to light. But given the cruel treatment of the alien, it is unlikely that the people in charge would care about this. This is to cover up lack of skill on the part of the people who created the alien using computer graphics. B, for one brief moment, the light is brighter. There is no explanation for this whatsoever. It's probably because the people who made the film knew the audience wanted to see the alien better. Furthermore, during this moment, even though the alien would be suffering from the bright light, there are no movements in the facial features except for the mouth a tiny bit. This suggests that what we're looking at is a puppet or mannequin with a mouth that hangs loose. Furthermore, we see teeth, but these aliens are believed not to have teeth. 3, the voice. A, the voice is very low. These aliens are known to be small, so they would have small vocal cords. Therefore, the voice should be high. Since the mouth is moving, we are led to believe the alien is actually speaking rather than communicating through telepathy that is decoded by some kind of device. B, the voice sounds processed. There would be no reason for this to protect the identity of the alien, but there is very good reason to protect the identity of the person doing the voice as part of a fake production, so he can't be tracked down and sued. 3, the treatment of the alien. A, the alien is treated like a criminal or a prisoner, not a visitor. The interviewer continually accuses him of lying and talking nonsense. The alien seems to be naked, his arms are stretched and appear to be shackled. This makes no sense for the alien to be treated this way if they expect him to cooperate. B, the interviewer threatens to inject the alien with another dose of scopolamine. This drug is known as devil's breath. It turns people into zombies, destroying their free will. It's used to make people commit rapes and robberies or to get them to submit to being raped. Since the interviewer says another dose, that implies that they have already done this. It's barbaric, cruel, and inhumane in the extreme. There is no reason for this if they expect the alien to cooperate with them. 5, topic of discussion. The discussion is about the origin of the universe and life, morality, etc. There is no reason to discuss this sort of thing if they expect to find out useful information from the alien. More likely, they would discuss technical things, like the propulsion system of the ship or how it was constructed. This is because the alien is a fake, and if they discuss technical things, scientists could prove the information is inaccurate, thus revealing the whole thing is a fake. Okay, so that was my notes, right? Now,
Right.
I
Thank
have a friend named Steve whose job is to create special effects for Hollywood. He's probably done about 150 movies now, and he's done some really big ones. Last year he did the Cliffs of Freedom with Christopher Plummer, for which he got paid $300,000.
Whoa.
He's done many that were filmed, presented on the Sci-Fi Channel and on the Hallmark Channel. He's done the Aurora Borealis lights. He's done a Ferris wheel 300 feet high that breaks loose and rolls down a hill and squashes the mare. He's done a girl possessed by a demon pulling the wings off of flies. He's done gigantic spiders the size of St. Bernards that eat up people and all the gore, and they jump in the air and they catch the person in midair and bring him down to the ground. He's done all kinds of things. So
Tom, this is such a good connection you have with someone of that kind of talent. I mean, this is terrific. Where did you meet him? Just curious.
I met him in approximately 1980. I had done some work when I first arrived in New York as a music copyist and proofreader, and it was very tough doing freelance work and constantly looking for a new job. So I went to an agency, and they gave me a bunch of tests, and they said, you're good at things that have to do with numbers. So they said, there's a job open at a company called Transceiver East. At that time, most people didn't have fax machines, and this company was making money by faxing permits to truckers so they could pick them up and go through the next state and not have to worry about it, and so on and so on. That's where I met Steve. There was a man who left, and Steve took his place. And so Steve eventually, I taught him computer programming, and he eventually wrote a program that was so good that it could do more work in an hour and a half of what we were doing than we could do manually in an entire week. Right?
Wow.
And so then after he started to master programming, he mastered C, and then he began poking around and teaching himself special effects. And eventually he went to a forum at the Javits Convention Center, and there were people from Hollywood there, from UFO, the Unified Film Organization, and they said, you're the best person's work we've seen today, you belong out here. So he came out there and he got a job with them, and he continued to learn and continued to practice, and he learned enough to start his own company. And that's what he's been doing ever since, and he has gotten better and better and better. So that's
thank you, Thomas, very much.
So
that's terrific background. Thank you for saying that. Okay, go ahead. What did he have to say when he looked at the film?
Okay, here's what he said. He said he does not think that this is CG. He thinks it's a puppet. And he said there's two reasons. When you watch the mouth move, he says, it just moves up and down. And it seems to me there's a little connection somewhere to the neck. But he says, it moves like a ventriloquist's dummy. And he said the second thing that he thinks shows that it's fake is that there's hardly any movement of anything else, particularly the body and the torso. They just sit there. Like that's what a ventriloquist dummy looks like when he's got his hand behind it, and he's got a little control that controls the mouth, and the rest of it just sits there unless he moves his whole arm and moves the whole thing. And I had already noticed, that when the light becomes very bright, the alien's entire head and torso move as one unit, and the mouth hangs down a little tiny bit, but none of the facial features move at all. Nothing moves in the cheeks, the lips, the nose, the forehead, nothing there moves, like as if it's a ventriloquist dummy. And here's what I discovered afterward, and I make this advice to everyone. I advise you to watch the film, and as you see the words on the screen, why don't you say those words out loud? And pay attention to the way your mouth moves in order to say those words. And see if you think that the way the dummy's mouth moves corresponds to the way your mouth moves, and you'll find that it doesn't. In particular, I want to give you one example. When they come to the part where the interviewer says, what about morality? And the alien supposedly says the word morality. Now that's got vowels for the more, the al, and the t. And so that means the mouth has to open 3 times, 3 different ways. For the t, it has to open a horizontal slit. For the or, it has to open down. And you'll see that the alien's mouth does not do that. It just moves down. Okay? So I think that you can prove to yourself by watching the film and running this test that it's like a ventriloquist dummy. It's a puppet. He says if it were CG, the construction of it is good, and the compositing is good. The way they have the alien blended with their surroundings, if it's CG, is good. But the movement is very poor. And that's why he thinks it's not CG, he thinks it's a puppet. Okay, so that's what I would say. And I know, should I get into the part about why release it now, or should I wait for later?
No, that's a question that will be followed with this. So
Okay,
stop
follow.
it for now. Thomas, thank you for that in-depth interview, for that in-depth data. Really, thank you for that. Good work. Now we're going to go. I'm going to call out the names, and we're going to go and we're going to ask if you have any other comments. We're going to go right down the list. So I'm going to call your name and then tell us if you have any other comments. We're going to start at the upper left-hand corner with Al. Al?
Okay, I'm going to build on what Tom said. There's a few points. One, as far as the creature itself, it moves exactly like a puppet. Having worked with them for the past 30 years, the head goes up and down, and then there's a pause, and it can go like that. It's two distinct hand motions. Other points, I agree with Tom. When they show the light on it, that bright light for a second,
Right.
it almost looks in terms of film. There's no reason for it. It almost looks in terms of film as, okay, here's the shock frame, and we go back to normal. If you look at the release of the film, it's only been released. The various versions have only been released in the past 3 years. There's multiple versions in multiple languages. The other 2 points I'd like to make is, if you look at the beginning of the film where it has the cover that says Project Blue Book, if you look up covers to Project Blue Book, there is a couple that matches that exactly, but they have credit for the people who put them together. And if you look at the credit, I'm sorry I don't have the name of it right here, but it's something that produces similar to the actual, but changes some of the information. So I think that's a major telling point. And my last point, and I'm sorry to go on,
Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to add 2. In the initial video that was released, the speaker says he's never seen this interview. He makes a point of that, but yet the next thing on the video is the interview. So you'd think he would at least be aware of it, if not seeing it. And the last thing is, there's a second interview that was supposed to have been done earlier.
That was the color version, right?
Well, no, there's 2. There's the color version and there's the black and white.
Oh, okay.
Slightly different alien, and he's talking with telepath. If you look at the alien closely in the dim light, you can see the rod that holds up the puppet.
You know, I did notice that in the middle of the screen there was something from the alien going down to the bottom of the screen, and I thought, what? You pointed it out to me, and I thought, what in the world is that? I mean, that almost seems crazy and foolhardy to have that actually visible. If they were trying to pull off something like an authentic interview with an authentic alien. Okay, Hal, is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you so much for that. We're going to go, like I said, I'm going to call you by name. The next one up would be Anthony. Anthony, undo your microphone. There you go. Let us know what you're thinking.
So, yeah, I definitely don't have it all analyzed like Tom did. I really appreciate that. I was kind of on the fence. I was like, I guess I was heavily persuaded by the questions that the script kind of sounded like the Area 51 book of the interview of the alien. Was it Dr. McIntyre or something? There was one person that was allowed to interview supposedly the alien from Area 51, and there was like a book on it, which I've looked at. And the questions seemed real similar to me. Definitely to me, whoever the alien was, the scopolamine, it definitely sounded drugged. Like, yes, the voice was electronified. You could tell there was manipulation, but I wasn't entirely convinced that it was necessarily a fake. I was like, I have to know more, like, why it was released.
We're going to get, by the way, that's a key question. We're going to get to that after we go through. Yeah.
So those were my 2 points. The scopolamine sounded authentic to me, and the questions sounded like they were like 30 years ago. Like, I don't think somebody would ask aliens questions like that now. They sounded like they were questions from the 50s, which reminded me of, like I said, the Area 51 book.
Thank you very much, Anthony, for your comments on that. I want to say, everybody, if you're not talking, mute, because some people, like myself, have a cold or allergies, and that sound is going to be on the soundtrack. So please, everybody, mute until you're called upon, and then unmute so you can speak. Okay, we're going to go next to Carol. Carol, if you want to unmute, and then give us your observations, if you will, please.
I don't really have that much to say. I did start watching the video, and as soon as I saw it, I thought, that's funny. You look like a puppet. I've seen things like this before, so I just didn't bother giving it much thought. That's all I'll have to say.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Susan, are you there? I'm
yes.
I'm seeing something. I'm seeing your ceiling, and I'm seeing a.
I know. It's because my camera is on a spot on the monitor that doesn't. It's just oddly placed, so you can't see me, but I'm here.
There you are. I can see your hand. All right, then. With that, then, I would appreciate, Susan, any comments you might have about the video we were talking about.
Okay, so the second version that you sent, the color one,
right?
I made notes and I sort of transcribed it. And for me, the issue, he admits at the beginning of this video that this is a fake. But he says, or whoever is putting this out, that the information disclosed in this video is suspected to be true information from Project Blue Book. Now, the Project Blue Book page that they showed us said, Project Blue Book project number 220675, 9th of June, 1964. Majestic 12 SOEB-312, classified Air Technical Intelligence Center, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Okay, that's what it said on the cover.
Right.
So it could be taken from that. It was obviously a fake. The film was a fake. But it could be that the transcript was taken from something genuine. And I agree with the person that said that these questions were from the 1950s and 60s. They weren't contemporary. So it's possible that it could have been taken from a document from 1964.
Interesting analysis on that. That's a good point. Okay, well, Susan, thank you so much. And at some point, I hope to actually be seeing you. We'll have to figure out how to do that. But right now, I'm glad you're with us. Okay, we're going to go right now to Jim. And Jim, if you unmute, and then tell us what your impressions of this alien interview were.
I'm with everybody here. I mean, the video is obviously an absolute fake. But what did come to mind was that, like, it was a recreation of something that may have actually happened, similar to, like, there were some fake alien autopsy videos that came out a long time ago, whatever those were. So it's possible that this is just kind of like a reenactment of something that may have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know these videos are absolutely rubbish and fake.
Yeah, and we're going to get to then, going with what you just said, we're going to go to the next point after we go with everybody's opinion of the film and just see more about the in-depth about why they're in the first place, and then who might be behind it and what their motivations are. So thank you, Jim, very much for your comments. We're going to go, who's the next one with 908? I wish you had your names.
That's me, Nick, Joe Foster.
Yeah, oh, hi. Joe, if you can, next time around, try to get your name on there, because I'm seeing numbers and it's confusing for me, okay?
Okay, will do.
All right, thank you. Please go ahead.
Okay, going back on a couple of points that have just been made. First of all, Blue Book was not to prove the existence of UFOs or alien presence. It was to do just the opposite of that. And I think that when you're looking at forgeries or fake, first of all, I'm suspect about a Blue Book report having anything to do with the MJ12 incidents. I don't think there was ever any mention of that, to my knowledge, or anything that I've read about Project Blue Book that was actually released back in 1968 or whatever, when it came to an end. Mm-hmm. So that right there is suspect in my mind's eye. Same thing with the document itself. The way they recreated the document is easy to do. It's not all that difficult. Now, with that being said, being that these are both films, supposedly, on 16 millimeter, whatever, some of the best evidence I've ever, or quote unquote evidence I've ever seen of videos of anything UFO that came from an official source is actually something that came out of the KGB file, where they had the actual video, the movie film, and they went through and they parsed all of the data on the film itself, the emotions. They got to the point where and it was all timed to be in 1968, I think, is when the film was made, and it showed the Russian military and so on. But even the name, the way they labeled official military film at the time, it showed everything to be at that right point, and that the film themselves did not appear to be edited in any way, where you clip and paste something in or whatever. So to me, that is a much more viable example of a film. Unfortunately, when it comes to aliens, especially from Roswell going forward, we had the film of the autopsy, quote unquote, which turned out to be a fairly decent fake, but it was a fake nonetheless. Mm-hmm. And then these here, I think, even had less of anything that would be of an evidentiary nature. So to me, even though it was well made and CGI or whatever, or puppets or whatever, it still has the same smell as one of the alien autopsies.
Okay.
So I think that's where I stand on it.
Okay, very good point. So all of them. Well, thank you very much. We're going to go to number 856. Who is that?
It's Frank Chili. Happy Memorial Day weekend or Labor Day weekend to everyone.
Yeah, it's here, and hopefully the fall will bring us better news than we've had during the summer.
I hope so. Nick, as I shared with you privately, I had seen this footage a long time ago. Okay. When I moved to Southern California in the late 70s, I met a UFO researcher by the name of Bill Hamilton, who had all kinds of inside sources that I could go on talking about, but he had shared a VHS tape of this interview, and I had seen it without, the introduction by John Lear, and it basically just went nowhere. It just disappeared, and then it resurfaced again. But some information that I had sent to you regarding the Don Gardner and his deathbed confession, where he revealed information about Edward Teller meeting with visitors, and that he was basically the one behind laying the groundwork for disclosure to the public, that he was the one who had Bob Lazar come forward. He had Dan Barish come forward, and Dan Barish was a microbiologist who worked at Area 51, who lived and interviewed a being by the name of J-Rod that was from Zeta Reticuli. He had survived a crash in Kingman, Arizona, May 20th, 1953. And this J-Rod and Dan Barish communicated for a long period of time, and Dan was basically ruined in the press when he came forward with this information, but he was basically asked by Edward Teller to come forward and help validate this information, and we're interacting with visitors. And if you didn't see, both of the deathbed interviews were conducted by MUFON with Dan Gardner. I would recommend you seeing, and the folks watching it or listening to this also take a look at it. It said that Edward Teller, who was the director of not only Lawrence Livermore Labs, but also White Sands, that was not made available to the public. They just knew that he was at Lawrence Livermore Labs, but he was director of both that and White Sands. And in Don Gardner's deathbed confession, he gave documents to the president of MUFON, and I believe it was Dr. Bob Wood was also there for those deathbed confessions. He said that Edward Teller was visited every morning by 2 Nordic women and 1 Nordic man every day that he was either at Lawrence Livermore Labs or was at White Sands Missile Base. And that information had never come out before. But Don Gardner gave all those documents to the president of MUFON and Bob Wood. And Bob Wood said that he thought everything that Don Gardner shared with them before he passed away was all valid information. And the Dan Burr story is available on YouTube, and his book is available if people want to read it about his interaction with J-Rod, and it's quite fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. All of that. Thank you so much. Yeah. Here we are then connecting those dots too. Sometimes when people say, when they know they're going to slowly leave this planet and they're going to pass on, and some of the things that they reveal are quite interesting, that they haven't revealed before, but they, in some cases, feel that they have nothing to lose and they want to straighten out their record, or possibly that they feel as though since they're going to pass on very soon, that no one can do anything bad to them, so they're freer to more get things off their chest. That's such an interesting time for a person's life, especially in positions like you're talking about. That's also so interesting.
And Don Gardner said that Edward Teller wanted the public to know that we were interacting directly with visitors from off planet, and that role that he's played behind the scenes is still yet to be fully exposed. Mm-hmm. But I had seen the VHS of this interview with this being more than 20 years ago. Okay. And now it's coming up again. And that's one of the questions we're going to pursue in a few minutes is why now? Okay, we're going to go to 570. And also, the next time we do this, if you can easily put your full name or at least your first name on the screen. It would be very helpful to me as the moderator. So 570, who is that again?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, who is it?
This is Mike out in Pennsylvania.
Oh, Mike. Oh, great, Mike. Tell me what your thinking is on this.
Well, I think we discussed it a little bit previously, but I'm a novice at this. I don't get too involved in things of this nature, but from what I've heard from some of the other opinions, if the interviewer is in probably a high security facility and it's got all this special stuff going on, I think you would have had a more serious line of questioning rather than a confrontational. If you had an opportunity to talk to a legitimate alien or whatever, and you knew that they were there for special work or research, you wouldn't be so confrontational. But that's just an amateur opinion.
Oh, no, absolutely.
So I guess I'll go along with everybody else saying it looks kind of funny to me.
Yep. I love this group because everyone's contributing their gut feelings and their observations. And I love the fact that we're working together to seek the reality, to seek the legitimacy of, in this case, the alien interview. I love the fact that we're doing this. That's one of the reasons that dnny exists, because together we're a pretty good group. We're pretty smart. And when someone's not getting, another person saying, look closely at blah, blah, blah. I love that kind of research, and especially doing it together. And I just thank everybody for pitching in. Okay, does anybody...
Hey, can I add one more thing?
Oh, of course you can. Go.
Based on all our conversations, you know how much I lean on psychic ability. And I always tell my friends, if you have a question you don't have an answer to, try going to at least a few psychics and get an opinion across the board to see what they feel about it.
Thank you, Michael. And I got to say that Michael is a fairly new friend and colleague to me, and we've had several very wonderful, interesting, in-depth conversations. And I'm going to have Michael, at some point, I'm going to try to talk him in to sharing either at a Zoom meeting, perhaps, would be good, some of his background and his lifelong research dealing with psychic people, professionals, and some of his adventures and data. It's an incredible stories. And Michael, thank you so much. And I do hope that we can do a Zoom meeting where you'll share some of that well, you and I will talk about perhaps a date, if you will. But I found what you were doing and what you found and came across absolutely fascinating. So I'm so glad that you're here, Michael.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Any other? Now you've heard everybody. I believe everybody's had a chance. Does anybody have any other thoughts before we go into the next questions of why now? Who might be in back of this, and what are the end games? Does anybody have any final thoughts before we go to there?
Well, yes, I do. If you'll let
Okay.
me, I have a picture to show everybody, and then something else I won't reveal it in advance. Okay.
Okay, Thomas, your video is off. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah, I'm seeing a blank screen.
Oh,
So there you go.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Let me see if I can get this to show up on.
Okay.
Can everybody see this?
Yeah, bring it a little closer. Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay,
You guys, can you see that?
Down a little bit.
Yeah, you're doing well. You're doing well.
Okay. Now,
where is that from?
okay, that's what I'm gonna. I'll reveal in a moment. Now,
Okay.
suppose that we found this on the internet, and suppose that somebody said that this is a species of alien who can actually beam aboard their ship, like on Star Trek, and
Okay.
that when they do it, they dematerialize. And this was a photo that was snapped in a split second when the process of the dematerialization was just starting. You know, imagine that you found this picture on the internet and that's what somebody said about it, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to show you what it really came from. I made that picture myself, and here's what it came from. Can you see that I'm holding this in my hand?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's a
Bring it down.
little statue there. Yeah. Where'd you get that, Thomas? Where'd you find that?
Okay. I don't remember now exactly what book it was, but I had ordered a book that had to do with UFOs from England, and it took about 6 months for it to come. And when the people finally sent it, they sent me this as a gift. They said, "We understand that you really waited a long time for the book to arrive, and we want to try to compensate you by sending you this little model." Right? That's where I got it from. And what I did to make that picture is I put it under my scanner. I put a piece of yellow-orange paper behind it, and I scanned it, and then I reversed the colors. So the very dark color became the very light white color, and the yellow became the blue. And the shadows, those are actual shadows, and instead of shadows, they look like illumination. And so I just wanted to show everybody that even with just a teeny tiny amount of very primitive fakery, you can produce something that some people might actually believe is real, if they're just given that kind of information about it. That's all I wanted to share. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. Really, that's a very good point indeed. And sometimes on the internet, when I go to UFO, any supposed photographs or videos, and I'm seeing this, I'm thinking, I really don't buy that at all. And it's too bad because it certainly muddies the water for the legitimacy of videos as well as stills, and then also the fakes.
Yeah.
And so, all right. Well, thank you, Tom, for that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Any other comments? I can't see the people with no visual on the screen. So anybody else want to talk? Okay. All right. Well, now let's go to the next point, and that is, let's just say that the majority of us feel as though that was not a legitimate video with a real ET at all. That it wasn't what it was reported to be. I think we can all go there. Let's go for that premise and say that most of us felt, for a variety of reasons, that it was not legitimate. So now the question becomes, then why do it? What would be the purpose of it, and who might be behind this? What would the end game? And I just want to wave to me if you have an immediate thought on that, or the people who are blanks. Okay, we'll go with Tom first. Go, Tom.
Okay. Well, now that we have heard that this film has been around for 20 years, that's a really interesting, new information that I didn't know about before. But my impression is, now, if you remember what the alien says in the film, the interviewer says, so you're a different species. And he says, yeah, I'm a survivor, and I was, we started out as human beings, and there was a global nuclear war that destroyed almost all the human beings on Earth, and we gradually evolved into what I am now, and I can't mate with humans, so therefore I'm a different species. And then the interviewer says, okay, what about this nuclear war? When did it start? And he said, I came here from the future, and to travel in time is to travel in space. And this nuclear war occurred approximately 50 years from now. And then the interviewer says, well, who started it? We'll just get somebody and we'll kill him. Right? And he says, I can't condone altering history by murder, And then he says, I don't know the name of the person who started the nuclear war. That name was deleted from our records, right?
Right. Yeah, okay, he did say that.
Right. So if this film was really made 20 years ago or even farther back than that, then fine. They're protecting themselves again. Now they don't want to give out a name and have it turn out that that somebody goes to kill the guy and the guy didn't do anything. But what I think is that what they're talking about is Trump, because the interviewer says, so how did this person who started the nuclear war manage to get the whole population of the Earth, all pumped up to have this nuclear war? And he says, well, he destabilized the democracy of your country by appealing to fear and division and religious and political dogma, right? And the part with John Lear was supposed to be filmed in 1975, so you're supposed to imagine that this interview was from 75. So 85, 95, 05, 15, 20, 45. It's pretty damn close to 50 years later now. And we do indeed have, yes, a human male in a prominent position of power who is, let's say that they agree with this human being is destabilizing our democracy by appealing to people's fear and by appealing to their acceptance of religious and political dogma. That sounds to me like they want the people watching this to say, hey, I think that's Trump. So that's, I think, that who would be behind this, claiming that it's a real alien from 1975, is people who want us to, fear Trump, and he says that Trump, he says that this human male did a preemptive nuclear strike, and this led to retaliation on all sides that led to planetary-wide global nuclear war that killed off almost the entire human race. And so they want us to be worried that that's what Trump will do if he's still in office, a year from now or whatever it is, 2 years from now, and something like that. So that's who I think would have something to gain by releasing it now.
Okay, well, thank you, Thomas, for your comments. And I would have to say that every point you made was occurring to me also. That just seemed to be the timing of that and what the hinting, the strong hinting was. It seems like that was part of what might be in back of this. Okay, let's go to some other opinions. Wave to me.
May I just ask a question?
Who is it? Who is this?
It's Sarah, Susan.
Okay, always say that so I know who you're talking, because I can't see you. So go ahead.
Okay, it's me. Where do you get the 1975 date from? Because I thought this was supposed to be from 1964.
Oh, well, all I know is that Nick sent me back an email from somebody else. I don't remember who it was from. Maybe it was from Joe, that had the date listed as 75. That's all.
Okay, because that would change a few things, so I have to look into that.
All right.
Okay, good comment. Others, wave to me so I can see you. I can't see the others because you got the blank screen, so tell me, does anybody else verbally tell me who you are and what you want to say? Okay.
Yeah, this is Joe.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I agree that this has more of a political overtone, I think. As far as the timing, first of all, I didn't send out any of these, but either of the documents. The second one, I think, is the one that may have mentioned the 75 date. Maybe Frank Chili has a perspective on it.
I believe that I had seen this 20 years or more ago, but keeping in mind with what's happening with the release of other information, and that what I'm being told by these insiders, these so-called insiders that are sharing information, is that they're pushing to get information out to the public to get acceptance that we're being visited here, and that the visitors themselves are pushing this information to be released. Now, the judgment of how they're releasing this information is far out of my purview, but I'm seeing more stuff that's coming out, more stuff that's on the History Channel, more stuff that's on National Geographic. There was more footage of saucers coming out than I've ever seen before.
Yeah, no, absolutely true. And let's look at the timing on this. Again, like you write down, plan. Good point. Who else? Anybody else want to make other comments?
Yeah, actually, I do. I want to make one quick comment.
Okay, go ahead there,
Jay. Yeah, I totally agree with that this actually could be some type of thing to stir up some more animosity against Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, though, like I think that there are a number of these things happening. It's like these sort of 50-year cycle, like all of the riots that were happening 50 years ago that are very similar to what's happening now. And then the other thing is Epix, I don't know, that station, and I just learned about this last week, released this really good 6-part documentary on Charles Manson.
Oh.
We all know Charles Manson's whole thing was like he thought the race war was coming down, and he was like, allegedly he was breaking into these homes to like kick off a race war. He's going to pretend that like black people were killing affluent white people to start this race war.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really well produced, and there's like lots of great footage I've never seen before. If anybody's studied Manson at all, but the timing is auspicious because it's the same thing. It's like what's happening now with this sort of a race war is coming, a civil war is coming. It's like the cycle, and it's like a thing that's this sounds crazy, like implanted into the subconscious of people. When they see this stuff, it's like, holy shit, yeah, it's coming down. Be afraid, black on white violence, whatever. Similar to this video, like these things are being put out, and I think to affect us unconsciously to create animosity.
Well, I think you've hit a lot of major points, and I agree. I personally agree with what you're saying. It's just amazing how much the script is, in a sense, being followed, and what we're seeing. It's choreographed. I know choreographing when I see it, and this is choreographed unbelievably so. And the deception, I would have to say that right now I would label this time as the age of deception, because there's never been more deception on so many levels, medically, government-wise, politically, news-wise, music, popular music. It goes on and on and on. And so, yeah, I think that when you're looking at the big picture, all these things, all these factors start aligning themselves really, really well. And I'm glad that you're coming to that conclusion because I personally am agreeing with you. Anybody else want to have any more feedback here?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead there. Anthony, go ahead.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I would just say that right now, I feel like, maybe it's just me, the public is hungry for this very thing, but the real thing, with real questions that are 2020 related, and also around what we're calling aliens, which I still think is an arrogant word. We're the aliens, really. With benevolent questions, what knowledge do you have? This isn't that helpful, but I think it does expose our hunger for wanting to find, at least some people like us, wanting to find out about other worlds. And then the only other thing I would say is, just regarding the whole reference, having it deleted, the information deleted from the time traveler that's 50 years ahead. If you talk to psychics, and they talk about, Akashic records, as if there is a history that's accessible from the past, at least, that's already written. And yet they'll always say that the future stuff, you can look at patterns and you can kind of predict things fairly decently, but it's never written in stone. So I kind of feel like that part of the interview didn't really bother me. Yeah, it probably is manipulative, but whether it's Trump or somebody else, there is definitely fascist stuff going on. Definitely the people that support Trump would say that he's protecting us from fascist stuff, such as the pandemic. You know what I mean? So, whether it turns out to be him or somebody else, there is something going on for sure with trying to funnel all the misinformation is very suspicious, and it could be connected with a lot of nefarious things like that this alien, whether or not this is authentic or not, I think that there are aliens that are looking out on us, wanting to protect us from doing some pretty destructive things. So those are my thoughts.
No, good, very good comments. Hal, I'll get you in just a second, but I just want to make a comment that what Anthony said. My mom used to say, if you want to catch a thief, think like a thief. And what you need to do when you're trying to pull something off, if it's not legitimate, is you mix some facts, some truth in with the things that you want to perpetrate as truth, but are really false. And I think that is the way to try to convince people by giving them some things that they can check, and then going into things that they can't check, but it's on the same. They are trying to make it the same level of the truth. And so that's a way of doing the deception. And we see that all the time going on. Okay, Hal, you had your hand up. Please go ahead.
Okay, a few things. One, I'm sorry, I don't remember who 1-8. The gentleman who said he saw this tape, a good 25 years ago. I'd be interested if you could review it, if it's possible, to see if the script is the same.
It's the same. It's the same.
Okay.
It's the same.
Thank you. I wasn't sure about that. Also, in terms of neurolinguistics, if this is about Trump, I mean, it's just kind of convenient that they remember everything else about this war except the guy's name.
Yeah.
Just a little suspicious there. So, yes, I think that a lot of it could be taken as anti-Trump. But everyone so far seems to be saying, well, the government is putting this out as, a plot to whatever. Looking at it from another version, which I think is important, first of all, you're talking about the internet, which is the greatest fairy tale place in the world, depending on what you want. So why couldn't, if you look at it from a different view, it's, okay, we'll put this out, we'll make this wonderful, almost real video, and we'll make the government look stupid. So, there's also that particular thing, that it wasn't put out by the government. It was put out by somebody who wanted, as I just said, I'm sorry to repeat myself, boy, will this make the government look stupid and unreliable, and they're lying to us.
Okay, all right. And yes, what you just said, I want to put something else on the table, and that was Mr. Warner von Braun on his deathbed when he was explaining the master plan for the New World Order that he apparently had a lot of knowledge about. And again, this man is dying, and he said the next step is going to be a fake alien invasion that would scare the hell out of everyone on the planet. All the governments are going to go on their knees and want to do one strong world government. And to do that, well, think about that a second. If what he says is the plan, what have we seen in the last couple of years? The government is now saying, well, you know what? UFOs are real, and here's some videos that we've shot. Hello? Why now? Why this timing is going on now? That they're turning around from covering up something that's been going on for since the 40s and denying all this, and now in the last year or so they've turned a complete 180-degree turn and identifying with video and saying we also are studying it hardcore now. We're studying it now. Obviously, that's a lie. It's been going on, but for them to say that, setting this up as, well, yeah, it's actually all true. Now, the timing. Okay, give me a second more, and then you go ahead. The fact that this timing is going on, one thing at a time, and all these things are like little bombs exploding around us. It just gives me pause to think, wait a moment, is this actually setting something up for a false invasion? I just want to put that on the table. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, one other thing I would add to that, and there's no coincidence that the Space Force has been created this year or last year as well.
Absolutely, Jim, absolutely. Like, why now, and all that commotion about it now? Like, what was that about, right?
I think that's part of validating Solar Warden, gentlemen. I think it's part of validation that's going to be occurring for Solar Warden that's been occurring for the Navy's been operating off-planet for a long period of time.
Well, let's go with that a second. Tell us more about Solar Warden. Just tell us more about that.
Solar Warden was a program that was set up by our government utilizing back engineering technology, some which was given by the visitors, some which we've developed on our own, to be able to go off planet and to interact outside of our solar system and interact with other star systems and other individuals. And Bill Tompkins' life was basically regarding designing ships and craft that the Navy was using for part of the Solar Warden fleet. And Gary McKinnon, if you remember that name, perhaps maybe 15 years ago, he tapped into the Defense Department's database and pulled up information regarding the transferring of officers from one naval craft to another.
Yes.
Under naval craft that don't exist down here.
Mm-hmm.
They exist upstairs. It's part of Solar Warden, and tens of thousands of individuals that are part of the Solar Warden program that's been operating under the command and auspices of the Navy.
A very, very good point. That's important. Thank you for bringing that up.
And I wanted to make a quick comment to Anthony regarding his what he had mentioned.
Sure.
Anthony and everyone else, keep in mind that consciousness and awareness can change events.
True. That's also very true. Yep, it certainly can. And that's actually a whole program we should do sometime, because there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
And we need to, very good. We need to explore that. That's a great subject. Anybody else? Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a point. Going back to this whole idea of nuclear war, well, as far as I know, from what I've read, the cabal doesn't want a nuclear war because they want the planet without us, but, intact.
Right.
And I don't think the aliens, or at least some of them, want a nuclear war either. Because, so that calls into question them pushing the idea of one person is going to start, a global nuclear war. I mean, it's a bit fishy to me.
That's a good point. Thanks for bringing that up. And, another thing I'm going to put on the table right now, I'm not trying to be a fearmonger, but I think we need to look at everything that's on the table. When I was reading and trying to catch up with the data on the pulse bomb, the pulse bomb, and the fact that if one went off in the middle of, say, America, that all the grid will absolutely disintegrate. All electric will be stopped immediately. And that's going to set us back, 150 years? And think of that. People without water because of the pumps, without food because of the transportation, that would kill millions and millions of people. And that's just one pulse bomb on this country, let alone other countries. So what would that do? Well, think of it. If you're clearing off the people because they're dying, but the structure, the buildings, and all the machines, everything else is intact, all it's going to take is to redo the grid system. Well, you know what? That's a very interesting premise then. I mean, it's grisly and horrible. And how many countries have the pulse bomb? Apparently all the big ones, including us. So I just want to put that on the table. Any comments?
Yeah, Nick, Joe Foster, there's a couple of points that I'd like to touch on here that were just covered. First of all, Gary McKinnon the first network that he broke into, the Navy network here at Earl. Earl is the place that had the UFO sighting that I had when I was a kid. Okay, the articles came out about it, and then they broke in. But once you get into the enclave, the DoD enclave, it's much easier to move around to other networks. With all the stuff that he brought down, including about Solar Gordon, NASA files, and things like that, he was able to make through that entry point. The other point I'd like to make is that what we're seeing going on is a microcosm, or actually it's a number of microcosms. If you go back to like 1946, there was a group that was formed. Actually, my mother was part of it around 1950, 1951, and it was called the United World Federalists. And it was an organization that was started by, well, the executive director for the branch where my mom was Roosevelt's niece, a woman named Carlton. And my mother was the chapter secretary. Now, again, this is the early 50s.
Right.
And the concept was turning over the power and basically creating a confederation of countries that became states of the world government. So they wanted to strengthen the United Nations to the point of being the world government, and federalizing it, if you will. And my mother actually got 2 letters from Albert Einstein on the subject. He was communicating with the group. The group later on changed its name, where it morphed into something called World Federalist International. And the last meeting that my mom went to was in 1970. By this time, though, it was such a major organization that kind of dropped off the table. You don't see too much about it. But if you saw the names of the people that were involved with it, and what's been going on since 1940, and the movement of going toward the world government, I mean, it's all with high ideals, so don't get me wrong. People wanted to eliminate war and everything else. The problem is, like everything, it can become co-opted.
Absolutely.
And that went right to Gorbachev. Back in the 1990s, Gorbachev was talking about this. And basically what he was saying is in order to implement the New World Order, if you will, 3 things would have to happen. You'd end up with a world currency, a world government, and a world religion. And so if you bring all 3 of those things under the same umbrella, you will in effect create that one world government. And what's been on last year at Davos, if you saw the people that were making comments, especially President Trump's name was brought up on a number of occasions today, but apparently everybody in the world hates the guy to the point that they will do whatever they can to get rid of him. And they even said that at the Davos meeting. So we're looking at a confluence of a lot of things that don't seem to be directly impacted, or they don't seem to be directly associated with one another. But if you peel it back and look at it from a distance, all of a sudden you see that a lot of this stuff is the wheels are in motion on a number of fronts.
Good
I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but
oh no, good points all.
Yeah.
You have to look at the big picture, and again, connecting the dots is the only way you're going to try to get a good vision, a real vision of what's going on, not what is being deceptively put on us by the media and everybody associated with deception, but what is really going down. That's a very different question. Any other comments? I'd be happy to hear. Go ahead. I thought I saw someone that was indicating. All right. Well, so this is the situation. I think we've done a lot of good work here, analyzing. I'm getting a feedback, like an echo that is doing my voice about a second later. Is anybody else hearing that?
No.
Yeah. Everybody just mute yourself, please.
Maybe that's what's going on. Because there was a real echoey thing going on. Also, if 908 again, hi. The thing I want to ask you is if you could, are you only getting to our Zoom meeting by phone?
yes.
Okay, something is not good. Of all the input here, and you're giving really excellent input, but technically it's by far the worst communication going on. So I don't know if it's a cell phone in a place that's not picking up well, or you're not.
Yeah, I'm in the area that's probably loaded with radiation right now.
Oh my. Well, maybe either getting very, very close to the window, maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to disconnect.
Oh, I'm just saying.
Well, I'm going to totally. Well, I can't hear. If I turn my volume down, I'm on my phone, so I can disconnect.
Better. Say something more.
Is that better?
It is. Guys, can you hear him better?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear. I have you on my regular speakerphone.
Oh.
I had you on earphones before.
Yeah, and again, it depends. Like I'm doing earphones, and I can hear everybody really clearly, and everybody apparently can hear me fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, if you don't have the earbuds with the mic on the right here on the cord, and you're just doing it with your, sometimes it's fine to do it with your computer or your laptop, and that's enough. And sometimes it's really awful. And I want clarity to be here for everybody. So I'm just saying that. I'm just trying to identify problems that we want to have very clear communication, because we all want to hear what everybody else is saying. Okay, so just to make that known. Okay, sure, go ahead. I can't hear.
Me?
Yeah.
Now I'm hearing it.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to say other than I have you on speakerphone right now.
The clarity is by far better, guys. Would you agree with that?
Sure, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how we're going to go. Okay, from now on.
Okay. Good.
It makes a big difference. Sometimes people who use speakerphones, it sometimes is fine, and sometimes it's awful. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the rule is here. You just have to try it and see. We do.
Normally, I would come in over the computer, but the network that I'm on here, I'm not authorized to use the Chinese application.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. But the way you're doing it now is by far more superior.
Okay.
So
I'll try to remember that.
No, so absolutely. Okay, so what else? Any other comments now before we close the subject? Oh, go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
I was just going to make one comment on the. I think there was one of the posts that you sent that. A lady was taking a video from a plane. Was it Philadelphia?
Yes, August 20th of this year.
Video. But once again, I mean, my same comment. I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, I have no problem believing that. There's just so many of them at this point where it's just like, I really want an interview that's like real and just sitting down, because I'm like, okay, I'm already convinced. Okay.
Yes, I believe it's all going to come, Anthony. I really believe it's all going to come.
Right. No, you're right. You know, and I said this before. You know, I'm getting information from either the phone, or a lot of times it's going to be emails that people with among our members basically are saying, "Hey, Nick, take a look at this," and I always. Almost all the time review the whole thing, and if I think that, you know what, it should be out there, so I do push it on so that everybody can see it. Now sometimes it's repetitive, and I understand that, and sometimes because of what's going on now, not only in America but worldwide, I can get maybe 20 of these a day. And I don't want to set myself up as I'm only going to give you 2 of them, and the other 18 I'll hold back. So I figure, you know what, you can easily press delete. Within a couple of 30 seconds of reviewing, you'll know if it's something you'd be interested in, or you know what, hey, I've seen that a million times before. Hit the delete button. You know, so I'm leaving it up to you guys. I don't want to be the editor, because I don't want to miss something that might be an important factor. So I say, you know what, put it all on the table, and then you have a delete button, but I want everybody, and also for the people who are Democrats, and I've been criticized lovingly, but they have said, Nick, you're posting pro-Trump and nothing for Biden. So I said as a general comment, if you've got things you want to tell the group about Biden and the Democrats in favor, send it to me, and I'll put it out there too. because they should be represented, and then everybody makes up their own mind. And so I just wanted to go on record that that's always been my point of view, is to put everything on the table, and things that are eventually truthful, it will come out, and things that are like really nuts and crazy, that will come out too. So time sometimes gives us the truth with more clarity than anything else. So that just want to let you know that's the way I've been operating, and I think that's the only way I could operate. To be perfectly frank, is to put it all out there. So that's the
Nick, I wanted to also thank you too for sharing that information regarding the Egyptian cave that was found in the Grand Canyon. I mean, you could do a whole radio show on that.
Oh my God, yes. I was absolutely shocked.
A lot of people are not aware of that finding that the Smithsonian has been keeping under wraps for decades.
And well, absolutely true. And also, how about the big skulls and the big bones by like 10 times and more of skeletons that have been, shall we say, pushed under the rug, brought to the middle of the ocean in a couple of cases, and supposedly they were dropped in the ocean so nobody would see them. And who the heck has the right to edit this and give us garbage or give us not the truth? And that even goes in. I got to say one more thing. When someone says, well, the JFK or the 9/11 information is going to be locked up for 50 years, wait a moment. Hello. Who has the right to lock up that kind of information, and it's always under national security? I don't buy it. I think you're hiding the facts for hopefully, not hopefully, the people who are guilty, who have enough power to say, hide that, either destroy it or lock it up for 50 years at least. And that goes.
Nick, if I could share this real quick, I was told by a very informed source that the National Security Act of 1947 was a direct result of the Roswell crash. And they said that this team of lawyers who put that together, and if anybody's ever seen it in the law library, it's like 26 of the largest volumes you could ever imagine of laws to basically come down on and keep secrets from the public. And that was all under the auspices of the National Security Act of 1947, and it was a direct result of the Roswell crash.
Wow. See, here we go. That's exactly right. That's thinking that goes on. And so, therefore, they're keeping us in the dark. Who was it that said that if you really knew the truth about how far we are in our advanced travel and transportation advancements of where we are, you're not 100 years behind. The public is not 100 years behind of the truth. You're 1,000 years behind of the truth. I mean, right. I was on the edge of my chair when I heard that. Guys, are you aware of that quote? Oh my goodness! I mean, think of that. Think of 100 years ago of where we were in America, and where we are in 2020. And that statement says it's not 100 years, guys. It's 1,000 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, if 1/10 of that was true, think of that. Think of the deception that's called the truth. Oh,
Nick, I know the senior physicist at Lockheed here in Morristown, New Jersey. It's the corporate headquarters of their Aegis program. And he told me the difference between the black world of technology and what the public knows. Now, he only admitted this. He said it's 65 years. And he said the things that are going to be revealed are going to spin people's heads, but they're very positive.
Was there any vague timetable to when that revelations will take place?
It's just ongoing. It's ongoing.
Okay, ongoing. And look where we are
now. I spoke to an engineer there, and he told me there's a lot of scary people that work at Lockheed in Morristown, New Jersey. I said, what do you mean by scary? He said there's a lot of double and triple PhDs.
Whoa, here we go. Here we go again. See, that's the reality of where we are. I love this group because we're really trying to dig into where the realities are. And we have hit some amazing data and information that helps to clear the air about where things are. We're not there yet, but we have at least a strong trail of trying to find out the truth. And I just want to again thank everybody on this journey that we're all taking to find out what is really going on. I can't think of anything more important than trying to find the truth. The truth.
It's a voyage of discovery.
boy, is it ever. The truth of your life, the truth of our governments, the truth of what the world is and where we're going and where we can go. These are the important things. I'm looking at the clock, and we have 9 more minutes, so I'm going to just open it up. Any final thoughts, guys? With this wave? Okay, Carol, go ahead first. You got to unmute, Carol.
Yeah, okay. Before we started, I mentioned that unusual Instagram message by Rose McGowan.
Yes.
So Hal asked what was the cult she was in. I looked it up. It's Children of God. Now, when I was in the Baptist church, we were warned about that. I was a teenager. We were warned about that group, that it was not a true Christian group. It still exists as the Family International. She was raised in the Italian chapter. Her father ran it. I think her sister is still involved somehow. So I just wanted to let you know that would make sense in terms of, well, I may be putting 2 and 2 together incorrectly, but child trafficking.
Yes, and also the Phoenix kids were in the same cult.
Yes, River Phoenix.
Yeah,
and,
all of them.
Yeah, and I was in the Billy Graham crusade, and I'm telling you, I never saw anything like this. They were wonderful Christian people, and they were warning us about this particular group. And there was also another one called Alamo, although I don't remember the details about that. So I just wanted to put that forth because it makes a lot of sense if that is part of that child trafficking group.
Interesting. Thank you, Carol.
It was a sex cult. So.
Right. Oh, by the way, as far as child trafficking and prostitution and also mercenaries, more than you ever expected. Don't miss the Dean Lauren interview that I did on my podcast last night. I implore you. I mean, he has uncovered things that, again, it made my head spin. That I knew it was going to be a good interview, but I had no idea the depth of what he was going to be saying. You got to hear it. Please do check that out. I'll give you I'll email everybody so you can easily access that. Don't miss it. And please give me your comments. And if you have anything for Dean, email me that and I'll give it to Dean also. Any other comments before we go? Okay, well, guys, again, I thank everybody for joining us today. Our next one's going to be, I believe, Sunday the 20th. And right now we don't have an agenda or a speaker, but we will. And I'll put that out there, of course, with with all the other data you're going to be getting. I thank everybody for being part of this journey. It has been one of the most exciting things my life has ever been on, is to be with you guys and searching for deep truth. And just thank every single person. One more final thing, and I'll say this on the 20th. My interview on the 4th Saturday of September will be for Carol Weatherford. Carol Weatherford is from the Rancho Book community, and Carol Weatherford, as you all know, has sent some very interesting and quite a lot of the emails that I've been forwarding to you, both some hysterically funny cartoons as well as some very interesting viewpoints politically. And so she's got quite a story behind her, and she's going to be my 1-hour interview for the last Saturday of this month. I'll give you more on that, but I just want to let you know that if you want to know more about Carol, and believe me, there's a lot of stories with her, that's all going to be put out on my podcast, which is live the 4th Saturday of the month at 9 o'clock. I'll give you all those details as it gets closer. Much love to you all, and this is Nick Curto for Disclosure Network New York, wishing you all a safe and enlightening journey as you try to connect the dots. Till next time, be kind to one another, stay safe, and continue your search for the truth. Bye-bye for now, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Love you all. Love